you have always said that you don't want the big state companies to be buying the newly privatized ones. So how could you wouldn't allow that, would you?
You spoke just now of state-run companies. Rosneft, strictly speaking, isn't a state company. Let's not forget that 19.7% of it belongs to BP, which, by the way, is a British company.
Yes.
You're a British subject, so you're also...
I think you may have more control over Rosneft than Theresa May has over BP.
Yes, maybe we have more control, but strictly speaking, it's not a state company. I wanted to say that I think this is a clear fact. 19.7% belongs to a foreign investor. But nevertheless, given that the controlling state belongs to the state, probably it's not the best option when one company under state control acquires another purely state company. This is one position. The second is, in the final analysis, it's important for the budget who gives more money in the auctions. That should be organized as part of the privatization process. And in a sense, we can't discriminate against market participants, not a single one of them. But it's not relevant at the moment, as the government decided to delay Rosneft's privatization.
So that's gone. But on the question of privatization, you said back in 2012 that you wanted to expand privatization. You've had a difficult time of it. You know, why has that not worked? And is there a case? You know, why does the Russian government need to own 50% of these companies? Maybe you could sell more.
The Russian government has no need to hold such large stakes, and we certainly intend to carry out our plans. The question is not whether we want to or not, it's whether it makes sense or not, and at what moment in time. On the whole, this makes sense at least from one point of view, from the standpoint of structural changes in the economy. The state really is perhaps too big in the Russian economy now. But in the falling market, even from the point of view of fiscal interests, it doesn't always make sense, so we're taking it carefully. But our trend, from the standpoint of privatization and the state's gradual withdrawal from certain assets, is unchanged and remains unchanged. By the way, you mentioned Rosneft. We are busy preparing to privatize part of our Rosneft stake itself. This is the best confirmation that we haven't changed our fundamental plans. For example, we sold a stake in one of the world's biggest diamond producers in Russia, Alrosa. We are working the same way in other areas. So we aren't changing our fundamental position. It's just not a moment when we should, as we say, make a fuss. That is, react nervously, and we must do it immediately at any price. No, we are not going to do that at any price. We should do it with the maximum effect for the Russian state, for the Russian economy.
So you would do Rosneft this year? You would sell those shares in Rosneft this year, you hope?
We are preparing for this deal this year. I don't know if the government can prepare and do the deal together with the management of Rosneft itself. I think that we should be talking about precisely such investors. But we are preparing and planning to do the deal this year.
And do you, again, just to push you on that 50%, would you be happy in a world where the Russian state had less than 50% of these big companies?
We don't see anything horrible in this. You know, I remember that we had once a company, I won't name it now, but then 50% of it went to foreign shareholders, foreign investors, The contributions to the federal budget, tax payments increased several times immediately, and the company's efficiency didn't deteriorate at all. So from the viewpoint of the state's interests, the end interests of the state, from the standpoint of its fiscal interests, we have positive rather than negative experience.